Kevin McCarthy could learn a lesson from Newt Gingrich. Um, Basically, the Republicans went to impeach Biden for basically not break for basically as payback for the Democrats impeaching Trump. And so basically, yeah, go ahead and go for it, McCarthy. But just remember, Newt Gingrich tried to had impeached Bill Clinton, and Newt Gingrich's career was ended due to that. So basically, at the beginning of last week, the general assumption in the Beltway chattering class was that the midterm elections, supposedly everybody was hoping for a red wave that never materialized, and leading to Republicans taking over state governments, the Senate, and a healthy majority in the House of more than 20 seats. Instead, Tuesday turned out to be an anti-MAGA election. Now, yes, Republicans will in all probability end up with an extremely slim majority in the House, but only thanks to extensive gerrymandering of their districts. Without the Republican pickups enabled by gerrymandering in Florida and New York, Democrats would have won easily. Now, the verdict is clear enough. Voters do not side with the Republican extremism. Now, every time that they're reminded that the GOP is controlled by a bunch of conspiracy theory-addled jackasses who lick Donald Trump's nuts, voters show up and pull the lever for Democrats, even when they don't feel all that great about the Democrats either. Now, despite this, here's a safe prediction for what that barely their House GOP majority under the so-called leadership of wannabe Speaker Kevin McCarthy will be doing in 2023. It's all maggot nonsense all the time. The cornerstone of their agenda, if that's even the word for it, will be to impeach Biden on made-up charges based on conspiracy theories cooked up in the maggot swamplands, and maybe with a side dose of debt-ceiling antics aimed at demanding steep cuts to the two most popular governments, Social Security and Medicare. Because if their plan for power after an election in which they nearly screwed the pooch is to use that power to remind ordinary Americans of all the reasons they hate Republicans, and why not go all the way? Now, Heather Digby Parton had explained last month at Salon that a number of GOP officials and political advisors believe impeachment is inevitable. Not because Biden has done anything to merit it, mind you, but even the most rabid maggot morons struggle to sound like they believe their own conspiracy theories about Biden. It's just that Kevin McCarthy is a weak leader, and he cannot contain the fire breathers in his party, like Representative Margie Trader Green of Georgia, who has already tried to induce articles of impeachment against Biden any number of times. Now, one would think, after a midterm election in which GOP candidates lost dozens of offices that they otherwise would have won, the momentum for impeachment of Biden would slow down, but no. Now, most voters hate Republican extremism, and they especially hate Trump's childish tantrums, and the largest single factor feeling the pressure to impeach Biden. In reality, however, the small margin that the Republicans will likely have in the House dramatically weakens McCarthy's already fragile control over his caucus. As Ariba Shaw reports for Salon, a slim majority hands significant power to extreme right-wing members. To get anything done, McCarthy would have to beg for votes, and they will be able to extract big concessions from him, such as impeaching Biden over literally nothing. Now, still, as he prepares to give in to the nastiest people in an already ugly caucus, McCarthy should consider the fate of the man who held his position in the 1990s, Newt Gingrich. After riding a legitimate wave election to big Republican wins in 1994, Gingrich went down the same path that McCarthy is stumbling toward now, and the result was the end of his career as a congressman. Nowadays, Gingrich is the face of the impeachment of President Bill Clinton back in 1998, which was based on trumped-up perjury charges over his affair with White House aide Monica Lewinsky. But as a historian Nicole Hemmer told Salon, Gingrich understood that impeachment is a political loser. Now, as she details in her book Partisans, the Conservative Revolutionaries Who Remade American Politics in the 1990s, Gingrich faced a nearly identical problem to the one McCarthy faces now. A Republican House majority that wanted to impeach Clinton no matter what and didn't really care if he was actually guilty of anything. Indeed, as Hemmer documents, impeachment pressure started pretty much the minute Republicans swept the 1994 midterms when they gained a whopping 54 seats in the House. Now, Gingrich, however, was reluctant, especially after he forced a government shutdown in 1995, hoping that the public would blame Bill Clinton. Instead, as Hemmer notes, Gingrich lost badly to Clinton during the government shutdown, and then Clinton easily won the 1996 re-election. The whole gambit backfired, and yet when Gingrich faced an insurgency in his ranks from his far-right flank, Hemmer explained he gave in. Impeachment it was. And that would lead to the end of Gingrich's career. And much like this year's elections, the 1998 midterms were supposed to bring big wins for the Republicans, but instead Democrats gained seats largely because voters were disgusted by the spectacle of hypocritical Republicans impeaching Clinton over a personal failing and turned on the GOP. Now, Gingrich was famously one of the biggest hypocrites, and given his long history of adultery, which included an affair with a woman 23 years younger than him during the impeachment. As Digby Parton notes, Republicans tell themselves it'll be different this time because they think they have a delicious spin to justify impeaching Biden. It's payback for Trump being impeached twice. She quotes Senator Ted Cruz arguing that Democrats weaponized impeachment, and what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And this argument will play well right into the rabid right-wingers' hands, who love to tell themselves a story about how they and Trump are innocent victims of the deep state, and that is out to get the conservative Americans for vague but sinister reasons. Now, Cruz clearly thinks the rest of America is a stone-cold stupid. If he actually believes the argument will fly with anyone outside the believer Trump base. Now, here's the thing about both of Trump's impeachments. Trump was guilty. He was caught on tape trying to run an extortion scheme against the current president of Ukraine. He incited a Klan riot on live TV in full view of the entire nation, and these are the kinds of crimes that would land most people in prison. And not only did he get away with it because of his office and his political clout, but Republicans barely pretend to have any other reason beyond perceived political expedience for their decision to acquit him both times in the Senate. Now, whatever the excuse Republicans may cook up to impeach Biden, it's unlikely to make much sense to people who don't live in the faux cinematic universe. Whatever Cruz thinks of the public's intelligence, most people know the difference between trying a guilty man and persecuting an innocent one. Now, going after Biden for made up nonsense will likely play out like the impeachment of Clinton did, and perhaps even worse. It will serve as a stark reminder that the Republicans are controlled by the worst people in the country, and in many cases, they are the worst people. Now, even though we've seen this script play out before, Republican leaders seem determined to act it out all over again. Each Republican leader started by trying to co-opt the radicals, Hemner explained, and each ended by capitulating them to them. And they're trapped by the maggot base for the same reason they're trapped by Trump. As bad as these people are for the party's image, they're also the source of most of their votes and huge amounts of their funding. Republicans cannot win without the maggot nutcases, and they cannot win without them. So even though Kevin McCarthy knows full well that it's a losing proposition to impeach Biden, expect to allow the right-wing zealots to push him off that cliff for that. So they're going to try to get they're going to try to get Biden on made-up charges, even though Trump was impeached twice and he was guilty both times, but the Republicans didn't have a fucking spine to convict him. So basically, Trump got away with two different crimes that obviously would have landed him in jail. So now so now the Republicans are going to try to impeach Biden for payback for impeaching Trump. So yes, it's going to fail on the Republicans to try to impeach Biden for something he's never done. So if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. If you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just a little over $3 a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.